The day my son slammed the door in my face, my heart shattered. It felt like a physical blow, a pain that radiated through my entire being. I had always imagined that our bond was unbreakable, that no matter what, we would always understand each other. It wasn't just the slam, it was the look in his eyes, a look that pierced through me, filled with anger and resentment. The look that said, "I don't respect you." It was a look I had never seen before, one that made me question everything I thought I knew about my son. I stood there, frozen, the weight of his disdain crushing me. My mind raced, trying to understand where I had gone wrong, what I had done to deserve this. How did we get here? How did my sweet, loving boy turn into this angry, distant teenager? My beautiful boy, now a teenager, barely acknowledged my presence, let alone my authority. The child who once ran to me with open arms now avoided my gaze, lost in his own world. I retreated to my room, the tears finally flowing. I felt a deep sense of loss, mourning the relationship we once had, the sacrifices, the sleepless nights, the endless worries, all for him. I remembered the nights I stayed up, rocking him to sleep, soothing his fears, and the countless moments of joy and laughter we shared. And this was how he repaid me? Disrespect, anger, contempt. It felt like a betrayal, a wound that cut deep into my soul. A wave of exhaustion washed over me. The emotional toll of our strained relationship was taking its toll on my body and mind. I knew I couldn't ignore this. Something had to change. I had to find a way to reach him, to bridge the gap that had grown between us. I wiped away my tears, determined to fight for our relationship, to find a way back to the love and connection we once shared. Raising him alone had been the greatest challenge of my life. Every decision, every responsibility rested solely on my shoulders. I worked 2 jobs to put food on the table, clothes on his back, and a roof over our heads. I attended every school play, every soccer game, always his biggest cheerleader. I yearned for a partner, someone to share the load, but my priority was always him. I poured every ounce of my being into giving him the best life possible. Looking back, I realize I might have overcompensated. In trying to shield him from the hardships of a single-parent home, I might have inadvertently created another problem: entitlement. His disrespect was a slow creep. It started with eye rolls, then escalated to backtalk, and eventually blatant defiance. He would ignore my requests, scoff at my rules, and treat our home like a hotel. I tried talking to him, reasoning with him, but my words fell on deaf ears. One evening, after he refused to turn off his video game for dinner, I lost it. I unplugged the console, resulting in a shouting match that quickly escalated into a physical altercation. He shoved me, hard. The look in his eyes wasn't anger, it was pure hatred. That's when I knew I had to take drastic measures. The next morning, I sat him down. No more yelling, no more pleading. "This stops now," I stated firmly. "You've been disrespectful and entitled for too long. It's time you learn the value of hard work and respect." I laid out the new rules. He would contribute to household chores, cook 1 meal a week, and earn his allowance through extra work. He laughed. He actually laughed. He clearly thought I was bluffing. But I was done. I stopped doing his laundry, packing his lunches, and cleaning up after him. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I had to break this cycle of disrespect before it was too late. Section 5. The hard reality bites. The first few weeks were rough. He wore dirty clothes, ate cereal for dinner, and struggled to adapt to the new reality. His room resembled a disaster zone, with clothes strewn everywhere and trash piling up. The unmade bed and clutter were a testament to his chaotic state of mind. He complained incessantly, arguing about every little thing, and even tried to guilt-trip me into giving in to his demands. His manipulative tactics were relentless. But I stood my ground, unwavering in my resolve. I knew that giving in would only make things worse in the long run. Each time he slipped up, there were consequences. We had serious conversations about his actions and their repercussions. No video games, no phone, and no privileges that he had taken for granted. He couldn't hang out with his friends, which left him feeling isolated and sad. Watching his friends have fun without him was a tough pill to swallow. He was used to me rescuing him, bailing him out of every tough situation. This time, I wasn't going to do that. His pleas fell on deaf ears. Slowly, the reality of the situation began to sink in. He started to reflect on his actions and their consequences. He realized that he had to take responsibility for himself. He began doing chores and even started writing in a notebook, perhaps to organize his thoughts or plan his next steps. Facing the consequences of his actions was a hard lesson, but a necessary one. He looked regretful, understanding that his choices had led him here. This was the real world, a place where actions have consequences and no one is there to shield you from them. And I was no longer shielding him from it. Watching from a distance, I felt a mix of pride and firmness, knowing that this tough love was what he needed to grow. Section 6. A glimpse of understanding. One evening, I came home from work to find the house surprisingly tidy. He was in the kitchen attempting to cook, and failing miserably, I might add. He looked up, a flicker of shame in his eyes. I wanted to make dinner," he mumbled, gesturing at the burnt offering in the pan. I could have laughed, but I saw something else in his eyes that night, a glimmer of understanding. He was starting to see how much I actually did. He was starting to realize that my love wasn't about spoiling him. It was about equipping him for the real world. Section 7. A mother's love, a son's remorse. The apologies came in stages, each one peeling back a layer of the pain and misunderstanding that had built up over the years. First, a mumbled sorry for the burnt dinner, a small but significant step towards mending the rift between us. Then, a heartfelt apology for the physical altercation, a moment that had left scars on both our hearts. Finally, one quiet evening, he broke down completely, the weight of his actions pressing heavily on his shoulders. He apologized for everything, the disrespect, the anger, the hurtful words that had cut deep into my soul. He admitted that he had taken me for granted, that he hadn't realized how much I did for him, how much I sacrificed. He had been so caught up in his own little world, he hadn't stopped to consider my feelings, my sacrifices, my silent struggles. As he spoke, the weight of his words, the sincerity in his voice, broke through the last of my defenses, melting the ice that had formed around my heart. I held him close, tears streaming down both our faces, a flood of emotions washing over us. This wasn't just about respect, it was about reconnecting, rebuilding our relationship from the ground up, brick by brick, with love and understanding. We spent hours talking, reminiscing about the good times, the laughter, the moments that had once brought us so much joy. Slowly, we began to rebuild our bond, finding new ways to connect, to support each other, to show our love in everyday actions. It was a journey of healing, of growth, of rediscovering the love that had always been there, buried beneath the hurt and misunderstandings. In the end, it wasn't just about the apologies. It was about the journey we took together, the lessons we learned, and the unbreakable bond we forged anew. A mother's love, a son's remorse, a story of redemption, of forgiveness, and of the enduring power of love. Section 8. The healing begins. It wasn't an overnight transformation. There were still arguments, still moments of frustration, but something had shifted. He started helping around the house without being asked. He began acknowledging my rules, even if he didn't always agree with them. He started talking to me, sharing his thoughts, his dreams, his fears. We started having family dinners again, something we hadn't done in months. We talked, we laughed, we reconnected. I rediscovered my son, the kind, thoughtful boy I knew was still in there somewhere. And he, in turn, rediscovered his mother, not just as a parent, but as a person. Section 9. Lessons learned, respect earned. The experience was a painful lesson for both of us. I learned that my love shouldn't be about overcompensating or shielding him from responsibility. It was about empowering him, teaching him to be a responsible, respectful young man. He learned that respect is earned, not given. He learned the value of hard work, the importance of empathy and gratitude. He learned that actions have consequences, and that words can hurt more than any physical blow. Section 10. A brighter future together. Our journey wasn't easy, but it was necessary. We came out on the other side stronger, closer, and more respectful of each other. He still has his moments, as all teenagers do. But the difference is, now we talk. We communicate. We work through our issues together with mutual respect and understanding. He's well on his way to becoming the man I always knew he could be, kind, responsible, and respectful. And me? I'm rediscovering the joy of motherhood, the pride of watching my son blossom into adulthood. Section 11. A mother's hope, a son's promise. The journey taught me that even in the darkest moments, there's always hope. Hope for change, hope for forgiveness, hope for a brighter future. It taught me that love, tough love, can heal even the deepest wounds. And most importantly, it taught me that the bond between a mother and her son is unbreakable, capable of withstanding even the toughest storms. I look at my son now, and I see a future filled with promise. A future built on a foundation of mutual respect, love, and understanding. And that, I believe, makes all the sacrifices worthwhile.